Hello there. Today's time-lapse is a portrait of Bryan Saunders. I'll be using a set of graphite pencils ranging from B to 4B and HB to H6, and of course an eraser and blending stumps. Also for those curious, I'm drawing on A4 mixed media paper, so it's quite thick. It's 300 GSM to be exact. Also, it's the first time drawing a portrait of another person for me, and I thought who better to draw than the artist that inspired me to start drawing my daily self-portraits, Bryan Saunders, that is. Now, Saunders is an American artist most famous for his daily self-portraits, which he started doing in March 1995, and he's still going. As for making this video, it's been 28 years, which is astonishing to say the least. I think it shows a certain level of dedication and discipline, which made me curious if I could muster up somewhat the same discipline. At first, it was nothing more than a fun idea, and I found myself creating these mini challenges where I had 1 month last year where I wanted to draw 30 consecutive daily self-portraits, and I did that. Then I tried doing it for a separate occasion on a new 30 days, but then I quit. Because for some reason I didn't feel like those 30 days were enough. I didn't feel like it was compelling enough of an idea, or it didn't produce a sort of large enough scale of change or anything. So I kind of laid it to rest, the whole idea of daily portraits and whatnot. But then, if you skip ahead to, what was it, December last year, when I rewatched a video essay about Saunders by Blind Dweller. Quite a good video. I'll probably link it down below. But I watched that, and then it prompted me to do some research. I looked up Saunders' website. I went through a bunch of his portraits, read some interviews, and again I was inspired. And then you can skip ahead to New Year's Eve this year, around like 3 AM or something, and I was sitting at a New Year's party. That was the party was just dying down. I was sitting in a couch with my good friend, and we're just chit-chatting and whatnot. And then he suddenly just throws out like this simple question: if I had any New Year's resolutions, and I was about to say no, like immediately, but then, still quite intoxicated, my mind just paused for a second and just rambled through some sort of process of justifying what I was about to say. And with the most confidence I ever had, I think, I responded, I'm going to draw myself every day this year. And that was it. Now I'm on day 115, and honestly, I'm loving the challenge. The funny thing is, on surface level, a challenge of doing something on the daily can seem daunting, and well, yeah, it seems daunting, obviously, and it can seem stressful. But weirdly enough, it isn't, and I haven't had much trouble doing it daily either. Like, it hasn't been like sort of a hassle. At least after around day 40, when it suddenly switched over to becoming somewhat of a habit or a daily routine. Like, it feels impossible for me to sort of forget that I'm drawing that I should be drawing a self-portrait every day. And another thing that somewhat surprised me and sort of shifted my view on this challenge, which Saunders often emphasizes, is the fact that art can be therapeutic. Now, instead of doing something daily being a task bringing you stress, it can be looked upon as an activity to relieve stress every day. And that sort of shifted my focus in the way I was doing things, and I allowed myself to relax a bit more and sort of have fun, experiment a bit, and that's kind of where I'm at. But enough about my perspectives there. I also wanted to talk about Bryan Saunders himself. Now, he is an American artist. He was born in 1969. He started his portrait series in 1995. And the most interesting thing, for me at least, is just the magnitude of daily portraits. Now, he's most famous, probably at least, he's most famous for his 50-day drug-related self-portraits where he would take a different drug every day and draw himself under the influence. Now, there's some certain level of shock factor here. It creates good headlines, I guess, for newspapers and whatnot, and it went viral, I suppose. And even though I can admire and I can appreciate those portraits, they're really not even my favorite series. I think some of the drawings where he's on trips or just out and about, like just these small sort of views into his journey around the world. Like he doesn't travel that much, but like sometimes he does, and sometimes you find this odd picture out of the bunch, and yeah, it's just fun to look through. But I guess I kind of understand why the drug-related one obviously seemed to be sort of a crowd favorite and whatnot, and I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in checking that out. It is fascinating, absolutely. But there is so much more to be seen. He's done plenty of other sort of experiments. He usually does like 30-day experiments. I believe he's done an experiment where he isolated himself in a room with different sets of light. So he had a room with red light and blue light and yellow light and whatnot, and he was journaling how that affected him and his self-perception. It's really weird and fascinating. I mean, the fellow is quite odd. I mean, you need to be somewhat, I guess, obsessive or weird in a special kind of way. Not necessarily negative, but it is weird to draw yourself every day for 28 plus years now. And I mean, I would even say it's weird to draw yourself for an entire year. It is sort of this weirdly ambitious idea, I feel. But in the end, I think the reason why I'm doing it is two-sided. It's one side where I want to prove to myself that I have the dedication, but there's also this sense of relief doing it, and you are taking time out of your day to reflect upon yourself and just wander a bit around in your own mind and process things, which I think is really healthy. And as I've stated before too, I think Saunders is also emphasizing that a bit, that art is his therapy. That is his way to cope with his traumas, where he's got some portrait series where he's sort of digging up some trauma from his childhood. I won't go into detail of this right now. I believe Blind Dweller goes into a bit more detail on specific portraits and whatnot. But this here was really just to have a time lapse of the first portrait of another person for me, and kind of just have this as a fun video to look back on, and sort of just show appreciation to a artist that inspired me to do something kind of crazy, I suppose. And if I manage to complete the entire year, well, then I've proven to myself that I am willing and dedicated enough to sort of pursue continuing with art. So hopefully I'll be able to look back on this video in 2-3 years time, and I've leveled up my art skills and I'm still drawing. Not necessarily self-portraits, but at least something. And yeah, I think that's about all I had on my mind for today. If you are interested in learning more about Saunders, as I said, I'll leave a link down below. I'll also leave a link to his website, where it's quite an old-looking website, but it's functional. So you can see some selected portraits from him there. And also, if you just Google his name and interview, you could also find an interview done by Jon Ronson. If you don't know who Jon Ronson is, he is a journalist and author. He did Men Who Stare at Goats and The Psychopath Test, which is kind of funny because that was one of the first ways I found Saunders was through that interview. And Jon Ronson is one of my favorite authors as well, so one of my favorite authors sort of led me to now one of my favorite artists or painters, which is kind of a funny tidbit. But yeah, either way, I'll stop ranting and rambling, and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the time lapse, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.